although there's no consensus on the definition and size of South Africa's black middle class, almost everyone agrees that it has increased and, in fact, is still growing. The South African government has used the growth of the so-called black middle class as a yardstick for the success of its own economic policies. Now, speaking at the ANC's January 8th statement back in 2018, President Cyril Ramaphosa boasted that the country's black middle class had more than doubled in the preceding 5 years to reach around 6 million. The Black Management Forum says South Africa's black middle class is still largely absent from socio-economic initiatives that impact the poor masses and driving economic transformation. The silent black middle class is the subject of an op-ed written by Monde Ndlovu, who's head of thought leadership at the Black Management Forum. Monde joins us now live from Johannesburg via video link. Monde, thanks very much for your time. Welcome to the AM Report. Let's begin perhaps with the basics. I mean, as I alluded there in my introduction, still an ongoing debate about how we even begin to define a black middle class. What would you say that definition is in a South African context?
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for having us. Morning to viewers, and special greetings to the leadership of Newzroom Afrika. Certainly, the definition is quite cumbersome and quite highly academic sometimes. There are some who come from an income perspective, expenditure perspective, and even another perspective of the likelihood of falling back into poverty. But the definition that we're giving there is a more pragmatic view. In other words, it is based on the ability of the middle class to champion causes, community-based, community-bound causes. And we even say in the piece that by extension, that those black people who have the ability to purchase goods and services that they do not need have that ability to champion causes and fall under this pragmatic view that we are championing to say, in actual fact, in a South African context, we need to look at the black middle class as those black people that have the ability, the influence, the power to shift and to make a difference at both a policy level and at a business level through their thinking, through their skills, through their time that they have committed to. So that is our understanding of a progressive, more progressive definition to say that those who can champion causes have the time, whose mindset is not based on chained to survival mentality. Just like the poor masses don't have the time because on a daily basis they are trying to survive just going through the day. But the middle class are operating at a different level in the country. The black middle class operates at a different level. And we utilize, therefore, these black lobby groups as an expression of this middle class that we are talking about.
Right. Given that definition, the Black Management Forum still feeling that this so-called black middle class is absent from initiatives that empower the poor masses. Is that an indictment on the socio-economic group in and of itself, or perhaps an indictment on the policies or the lack thereof in our country?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything. If you look at, for instance, in that paragraph about the mind, the matter, and the money, you look at the behavior of the black middle class and the upper black middle class, always showing the expressions of material gain. Some of them are wanting leadership power and misusing that leadership power. And yes, of course, we're calling out the black middle class in particular that are present in all of these lobby groups, because all of these black lobby groups have the power, have the influence, and BMF specifically has championed some of these causes in terms of at a policy level, talking about affirmative action, and the BMF had the blueprint of affirmative action from 1993, influenced it, and it became promulgated into the Employment Equity Act. The BMF again championed black economic empowerment in 1997 to say the country needs a unified definition of BE, and there needs to be a commission, therefore. So we've seen the power of the black middle class in championing particular causes, but we're seeing a backward movement in their articulation, a backward movement in their involvement, a backward movement in articulating the views that ought to be articulated, in making sure that policy on one side is progressive, on the other side the black lobby groups actually become more effective altogether, for all of them collectively hold so much power in the South African context. And therefore, when we talk about the unfinished business of the black middle class at the end there, we make some quite sterling recommendations around how these lobby groups can actually begin to do some more effective work around establishing a professionals leadership institute, which therefore means that that leadership institute will assist government in selecting appropriate leaders to lead their businesses, assisting the private sector in doing so. This should be championed by the black middle class and the black lobby groups themselves. That's one recommendation. The other recommendation is getting into more research, deepening the research within the black lobby groups in the form of a research and economics institution, which will then inform better position, inform articulation, inform the progress that we want to see. But we are calling it out because it's currently not happening. So we're raising the debate, we're raising the issues to say there is unfinished business with the black middle class in spreading opportunities, in holding government accountable, in engaging in community-based and community-bound initiatives, giving of their time, and also calling them out on the mindset that they have in displaying material wealth, calling them out in the sense that we need to rehabilitate the mindset of the black middle class, not only the black middle class, but also the wider population. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Yeah, and
we're not there yet.
Yeah, let me come in there, Monde, if you don't mind. I mean, just because I don't want to lose some of the substance of what you're saying. Part of the recommendations you've alluded to is creating some kind of group that will work in collaboration with the state to try and ensure that certain initiatives are seen through. Are you not worried that this will lead to the creation of yet another elitist body that will continue to exclude the poor masses that you refer to from, I guess, wielding the benefits of a black middle class that has so much economic power in the country?
Yes, so it will all come into how it is constituted. Right. So as we are putting it forward and as we're further discussing the issue of how to bring together this panel to assist government in selecting leadership, of course, we must include and have a voice for those workers. We must have a voice for labor, which is very, very key as well. So they must be part of that professionals panel that will assist in the selection criteria of leadership, both at a private and public sector, to ensure that when they make recommendations, they are recommending credible leaders that will drive, whether the public sector, the dual mandate, and in the private sector, begin to humanize the outlook on how to select leaders and spreading of opportunities, making sure you get the best talent. But the issue that I'm raising in answering your question is that it will be founded in how it is constituted, in bringing together both labor, bringing together both black professionals into this body so that voices are represented where there might be gaps in assisting. So as much as it may become elitist, but it's quite necessary in assisting government, but we must spread its constitution of this institution so that the voices that are excluded begin to have a voice, a more pronounced voice, so that we can articulate the views and articulate the direction we'd like to see as a collective. And that is why we are saying it's a responsibility for all of these lobby groups to actually come together and have a more serious discussion on this matter.
Right. And of course, Monde, the big risk that even you and I are at risk of falling into is having these very highbrow conversation about what ought to happen to people sometimes who don't even find the conversations accessible. Why should people who are excluded from the so-called black middle class even care that such a socio-economic group exists and that it can potentially exist for their benefit?
So the existence of the middle class, as we had said, is part of the economic system that is run in the country. And so we are saying it is a measure of progress. So the more black people come into the middle class, they have the ability to access better opportunities, the ability to have more choices in how they conduct their lives. And so positioning it in that sense that once you get into the black middle class, having the ability, having the disposable income that is beyond just a survivalist mentality. Because again, black people in this country many, many years ago had the ability to conduct their lives, to self-actualize. And so when you move into the black middle class, our understanding is that you will be alleviating poverty itself. And that should be the focus when we discuss the black middle class. So we want to have more discussion around the race issue more than the class issue. Because as we sit now, we are sitting with a challenge with the poor masses, and the poor masses need to be educated, need opportunities, and the people who've got the time, resources, influence, presence is the middle class itself in order to drive socio-economic transformation. And we are saying specifically through these black lobby groups which exist. That is why we also say that all these lobby groups should come together and begin to look at the mandates of these lobby groups, and are they still fit for purpose?
Yeah.
And how far is their reach in terms of society, not just taking care of its members who are in corporate and who are in business, but in actual fact, are we still fit for purpose as a collective? Are we still fit for purpose as the black middle class? What exactly have we achieved as the black lobby groups in the past 10 years or so? So those discussions need to take place. And at the moment, we're just moving forward without a very, very clear outlook on what we're trying to achieve as the black lobby groups themselves. And so when we begin to articulate and begin to move into the grassroots level, we are saying to South Africans that when we move into the black middle class, we are beginning to deal with poverty. Because when you move into that space, there is better choices that you can make for your life, better educational advancements for your life as well. And you know, as well as I do, that in every black family, when there's one educated, whether it's young person or old person, you've actually uplifted the whole family. Right? This we know. And so we still have a lot of work to do there. And when we position it that way, that we're dealing with the historical legacies, present day, and the middle class has the power.
Absolutely.
They can't sit back and suggest that we've done our bit. No, the black lobby groups have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, no, point well made, and certainly interesting thoughts without a doubt. Thanks very much for coming through and sharing some of those insights with us here on the AM Report. Monde Ndlovu is Advocacy and Thought Leadership Head at the Black Management Forum. Monde, thanks once again for your time.